Good morning, Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. If we can please take our respective seating positions, settle the room for the commencement of the 4th edition of the Nigeria International Petroleum Summit. The Nigeria International Petroleum Summit was one of the very last events to happen physically before the unfortunate pandemic that hit the world in 2020. We've also become one of the first events to return, observing protocols as directed by the relevant government agencies, following the gradual reopening of countries and cities around the globe. Truly, N.I.P.S is gradually taking her place as that desired destination for events for all of Africa, for industry, for government, and for relevant regional and international organizations. Welcome to the 4th edition, the first to be held in the banquet hall of the Presidential Villa here in Abuja. My name is Richmond Osuji, and I have, as always, the pleasure, the privilege, the honor, standing before you this morning, ready to master the next few days of this 4th edition of the event. From crisis to opportunities, new approaches to the future of hydrocarbons is our theme for this year's N.I.P.S. Fact is, though COVID hit the world and shut down economies, procreation did not shut down, meaning population is increasing. Demand for energy is on the rise, and there's a pressure on fossil fuel from renewables. Question is, should oil prices hit $100 or above per barrel, will investors still be taking their stand on fossil fuel they are taking today, or will it be relaxed and new investments embraced? Questions that I'm sure this next few days will unravel for us answers in this industry as it concerns Africa. The Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources made quite a profound statement yesterday evening for those who were at the minister's dinner. I'm sure he's going to make that statement again sometime this week. I would allow him to continue to champion that cause, for it's a cause all of us in Africa and those of us in emerging markets around Latin America and indeed in Asia should begin to consider and embrace. I was looking at an IEA report today, and I realized that whilst many parts of the world like Nigeria shut down their use of coal many years ago, countries around the world in Europe and Asia and America are still generating energy using coal. Should we consider developing our own industry and resources for the betterment of our people before we begin to embrace new technologies that will quiet fossil fuel? I'm just asking questions. Again, I welcome all of you, and I will go straight into the formalities for the morning. First off, let me say here at the banquet hall, we have the restrooms, lavatories, conveniences, whichever one you want to call it. For the VIP guests, it is just exit through this door to the VIP waiting room on my right. You would find the toilets for men and women. For the distinguished delegates, as you exit the banquet hall to your left, all the way down to the courtyard area where we'll have for networking and tea, you'd find the lavatories for both men and women as well. And of course, in the case of an emergency, the muster points are outside of this building, heading towards the lawn and the gates of the premises. We await the arrival from the green room of some of our dignitaries who are joining us this morning. As they get here, we'll commence with the national anthem of the event. But let me quickly, as I wait for them, do a quick run-through of what agenda we are expecting today. As we commence this opening ceremony with the addresses and remarks to come and goodwill to follow, we will then take our guest of honors and special guest of honor remarks. We will then proceed into an international panel that will taking a world oil outlook at N.I.P.S 2021. That will take us to a refreshment break. And then the vehicles provided that will drive us to the International Conference Center, where we would have a session at around 3 p.m. today. And of course, that session, when it ends, we'll begin to head back in this direction to come and attend the dinner that will be hosted by Total Energies Nigeria. Before that, there will be a cocktail hosted by the NCDMB when the ES of that agency will be receiving distinguished delegates and international attendees. That would be what our day one is looking like. Kunle, I think it's time if we can bring our dignitaries into the room. Let's commence with the event. I will run through my protocol once I start again the event formally. But let me welcome the Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Ogbonnaya. Good morning, sir. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate it. Can we please give him a round of applause? We will be joined as well by the Honorable Minister of State for Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, Distinguished Senator George Akume. We expect his arrival, of course. His Excellency Chief Temipre Silva, Honorable Minister of State Petroleum Resources, our host minister, is walking in with some other yes, of course. The refreshments this morning, I'm sure some of us have had tea or coffee or canapes. Whatever you enjoy this morning is courtesy of the enabler for businesses in the industry, the Department of Petroleum Resources, the DPR. We thank you for providing us tea and coffee this morning. We also welcome Ambassador Miriam Katagum, the Honorable Minister of State, Industry, Trade and Investment. Good morning, ma'am. Glad to have you. Can we please give her a warm applause? We're also joined by His Excellency Vincent de Paul Massassa, Minister of Hydrocarbon of Gabon, quite a consistent attendee minister to the N.I.P.S since inception. I think he deserves a round of applause. I'm sure he will join us shortly. From Mali, we are joined, I'm guessing, with the dignitaries by His Excellency Tiemoko Sangare, Minister of Mines and Hydrocarbons of the Republic of Mali. From Ghana, we are joined by the Minister of Energy, represented by the Director of Petroleum at the Ministry, Benjamin Kwame Ashanti. From Equatorial Guinea, we are joined virtually by His Excellency Gabriel Banga Obiang Lima, the Minister of Mines and Hydrocarbons of Equatorial Guinea. And from the diplomatic corps in Abuja, we are joined by His Excellencies, the ambassadors of Egypt to Nigeria, the ambassador of the United Arab Emirates to Nigeria, the ambassador of Norway to Nigeria, the ambassador of Iran to Nigeria. We welcome all excellencies joining us from the diplomatic missions. We're also joined this morning by the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Petroleum Resources, who has been leading the charge for this event, is also here with us. Mr. Bitrus Bako Nabasu. Good morning, sir. MNI. Can we please appreciate the Permanent Secretary? Thank you very much. Now remember, some of these dignitaries will be joining us when they walk in from the green room. We're also joined this morning by the Group Managing Director of the N.N.P.S. And Mr. Mele Kiari. We're also joined by the Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Department of the Petroleum Resources, Engineer Salki Nwalu. Good morning, sir. Can you please give him a round of applause? Good morning, sir. Thank you very much. The Executive Secretary, Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, Engineer Simbi Wabote, FNSE, is also with us this morning. Good morning, sir. The Executive Secretary, Petroleum Equalization Fund, Boboy Ahmed, is also joining us this morning. Yes, please, let's give them a round of applause. Go ahead. And then we have heads of international agencies and regional bodies joining us as well. Our very own Secretary General of OPEC, His Excellency Mohammed Sanusi Bakindo, is joining us virtually. We're also joined virtually by the Secretary General of Gas Exporting Countries Forum, His Excellency Dr. Yuri Centurion. We're also joined by our very own Dr. Omar Farouk, the Secretary General of APO, the African Petroleum Producers Organization. We welcome all of them. The Chairman Oil Producers Trade Session of the LCCI, that will be the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the Managing Director of Total Energies in Nigeria, Mike Sangster, is in the room this morning. Good morning. Excuse me. Thank you. All right, we're also joined this morning by the Managing Director of Shell Development Petroleum Company and the country chair for Shell companies in Nigeria, Osage Okubo. Good morning, sir. Yes, please, go ahead. We're also joined this morning by the Chairman and Managing Director of ExxonMobil Nigeria, Richard Lang. Mr. Lang, we welcome you. The Managing Director for Chevron Nigeria and Mid-Africa, Managing Director and Chairman for Chevron Nigeria and Mid-Africa, is this morning represented by the Director, Joint Venture Operations, Nigeria Mid-Africa Strategic Business Unit for Chevron. We welcome Mr. Monday Ovwede. Good morning, sir. Roberto Daniele is the Managing Director of E&I Companies. We welcome you. We welcome the Managing Director of the Nigeria LNG, Mr. Tony Atta. We welcome you, sir. Good morning. We do also have MDs and chairmen of independent companies in the room. We'd like to recognize the presence here of the chairman of Walter Smith Group, Mr. Abdul Razak Issa. Good morning, sir. I'm sure he's here somewhere. Can we take a moment to celebrate Walter Smith Group? Give them a round of applause. Now, if you are a foreign delegate and you are not aware why I stressed that, they are gradually from 5,000 barrels marginal field operators becoming an integrated energy company with not just the E&P business, a refining business, an energy business, and gradually expanding their host community into a Dubai of some sort. They deserve a resounding applause for an indigenous company. Thank you very much. Continuing, I'd like to also recognize the presence of the Group Managing Director of Iteo Group, Mr. Koronko. Good morning, sir. I see you here. Thank you very much for joining us. MDs of service companies, a lot of you in the room. I would be shooting myself in the leg if I try to recognize every one of you by name. We welcome you. Chairman and presidents of international industry associations. I speak of the chairman of PETAN, the Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria. I haven't seen him this morning, but we recognize PETAN members here. We recognize members of the Nigerian Association of Petroleum Exploration, is N.I.P.S. We recognize the presence of the Society of Petroleum Engineers. I have seen Engineer Kiyomi here somewhere this morning, the chairman of SP in Nigerian Council. Good morning, sir. Good morning. And of course, the president of Oil and Gas Traders Association, Octon, the president of the Nigerian Energy Economists, the president, the chairman of PCTS, and of course, the presidents of Pengason and Nupeng. Can we please give them all a round of applause? Thank you very much. Our sponsors, you know, without you, we will not be having this event today. When I walked into this room, my lectern was not here. I insisted that it be here positioned so that we will at every point in time see the logos of our sponsors. We appreciate you. I will take a moment to recognize all of these companies by name, but for coming out and signing those checks behind this event as the first major event post-COVID, you truly deserve commendation, applause, and award. Let's give you the award of a round of applause now, please, for our sponsors. Our speakers, beginning today through to Thursday, we thank all of you for accepting to share your wisdom, your insight, to profile solutions, highlight challenges. We thank all of you. We appreciate you for the acceptance to speak to us, with us, during the course of this event. Can we please give our speakers a resounding applause? Members of the fourth estate of the realm, you tell the story, you carry the news, and you intimate the citizens on the goings on of our industry. Your presence is appreciated. Your work is commendable. We thank you. We thank you, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. If I have not recognized you by name, please forgive me. Perhaps if you would give me an oil well, I will do well to recognize you next time. Anyways, just on a lighter note, my sincere apologies if I've missed it on anyone, but be rest assured, throughout the course of the week, you get to meet especially our speakers by name, and at that time, I will do justice with it. Let me also recognize the representative of the Director of the Department of State Services, Funke Emos, MNI. Thank you, ma'am. She's here in the room somewhere. We welcome you. No good day. Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to recognize the Honorable Minister of Environment, Dr. Mohammed Mahmoud Abubakar. Honorable Minister, good morning, sir, and welcome. I'd like to also recognize the Honorable Minister of FCT, Muhammad Musa Bello, represented by the PS of FCTA, Adeshola Olushade. Olushade, good morning and welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are also joined by the representative of the Honorable Minister of Police Affairs, Harande Mahe. Harande Mahe, thank you so much for being with us. The Director General of the Standard Organization of Nigeria is with us this morning. Honorable Ozi Raji, welcome. Forgive me if I didn't pronounce that correctly. But thank you all and welcome. Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as I said, I've seen them in the green room. Once they come into the hall, I will commence the event proper. But as I await their arrival, recently I had the privilege of mastering an event somewhere in Latin America, the beauty of technology. You sit in the comfort of your home and you connect to the rest of the world, right? And this is a country just only discovering oil and gas and making quite commendable plans, The cameraman has just brought to my attention someone whom deserves a mention for being here today and for her effort. And for her effort in coordinating some of the members of the diplomatic corps and her commitment to the growth of women internationally and within the Gulf region. I want to recognize the Chief Executive Officer of TCL Group of Factories and Companies out of Egypt, Dr. Hoda Yassa. Dr. Yassa, good morning. I saw you somewhere. Good morning, Dr. Yassa. Good morning, welcome. So we are getting ready to commence as the Honorable Minister of State joins us. Okay, give me background music. Welcome His Excellency, the President of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, distinguished Senator Ahmed Lawan. Your Excellency, you're welcome. While we're standing, we also welcome the Honorable Speaker. Can we now please take the national anthem to formally commence this event? God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We may be seated. Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we welcome His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, represented by the Honorable Minister of State Petroleum Resources, His Excellency Chief N.I.P.S. Silva. We welcome His Excellency, the President of the Senate and Chairman of the National Assembly, distinguished Senator Ahmed Lawan, and members of the National Assembly here present, of the Senate here present. We welcome the Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives. We welcome all members of the House of Representatives here present. We welcome the representatives of governors of state, Dr. Honorable Oyiwa, representing the Governor of Benue State. We welcome Dr. Obunaya, Honorable Minister of Science and Technology. We welcome Architect Olamilekan Adegbite, the Honorable Minister of Mines and Steel. We welcome the Honorable Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs. We welcome the Honorable Minister of State Industry, Trade and Investment, Ambassador Katagum. We welcome the Ministers of Petroleum and Hydrocarbon from across Africa, His Excellency Vincent the Paul Masasa, Hydrocarbon Ministry of Gabon. We welcome Tiemako Sangare, Mines and Hydrocarbon Mali, Benjamin Kwame Ashanti, Ministry of Energy in Ghana, Gabriel Mbaga Obi and Lima, the Minister of Mines and Hydrocarbons, Equatorial Guinea, members of the Diplomatic Corps here present. I've recognized them earlier. I will just move on for time. We welcome the Inspector General of Police, the Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources, the heads of the ministries, agencies, the DPR, the N.N.P.S, the NCDMB, PEF, and all other agencies of the ministry here present, managing directors of international oil companies, led of course by the chairman of the OPTS and MD of Total Energies, Mike Sangster. We welcome MDs of independent indigenous E&P companies present with us this morning. We welcome chairmen and presidents of industry relevant associations, not forgetting presidents and secretary generals of regional and international organizations, OPEC, ARPO, GECF, IEF, whom I have all recognized earlier, but for time I want to speak through sponsors of N.I.P.S 2021, distinguished speakers of N.I.P.S 2021, captains of industry, the members of the fourth estate of the realm, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a time we want to discuss from crisis to opportunities, new approaches to the future of our hydrocarbons, not just for Nigeria, but for across Africa and indeed the world. We commence our event with an opening remarks, and our welcome remarks. First off, I must say, give kudos to the organizing company doing this in partnership with the Ministry of Petroleum Resources and all the relevant agencies. That will be Brevity Anderson, whose Chief Executive Officer is one of us. I'd like for us to please give him a resounding applause for tenacity and dedication to this course as he comes to do his welcome address. Let's welcome Mr. James Shindi.
His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Distinguished Senator Dr. Ahmed Lawal, Senate President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, His Excellency Chief Dr. N.I.P.S. Silva, Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Federal Republic of Nigeria, all other protocols duly observed. You'd excuse me because we're running behind schedule, so all other protocols duly observed. My job this morning is very simple. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for making our time to be here with us this morning for the 4th edition of N.I.P.S. The last 18 months have been absolutely horrible for this industry we all love so much, and for every one of us in this room, because one way or the other we felt the impact of this horrible virus. But the good news is this. The good news Hello? we're having some technical issues.
Sound.
Apologies. So I was just saying, in the last 18 months, we've had a really horrible virus. But the good news is this: we made it. And for the fact that we're here this morning is testament to the fact that there's starting to be light at the end of the tunnel. The government's decision to move the festive event to the very seat of power is in itself evidence that the government is saying Nigeria is open for business. I must therefore thank the leadership of the National Assembly profoundly for being very patient with all of us, the ministry, the organizers. I thank them very much for being here this morning. I must thank the Nigerian government for keeping faith with the industry, for keeping faith with us, for keeping faith with the event, and for allowing us as Beverly Anderson to continue to be of service to deliver this world-class event. And so over the next few days, we'll hear from several speakers, experts in their fields, and it is my hope that this event marks the start of the journey to getting things back to some form of normalcy. I'd like to thank, again, from the bottom of my heart, the leadership of the National Assembly for the patience with us. I thank the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, His Excellency Minister Dr. Silva, the PS, and everybody who's worked to make this event possible. And publicly, I'd like to thank my team and everybody who's worked behind the scene to make this event possible. I'd like to thank also our partners and our sponsors. Without them, we would not be here this morning. On that note, I say thank you all very much, and I wish you all a very lovely conference. God bless us all. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. James Shindi. James Shindi is the Chief Executive Officer of Brevity Anderson. Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, moving on from James Shindi, I'd like to now welcome the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Petroleum Resources, whom I consider the captain of the organizing committee for this event. Let's welcome Mr. Bitrus Bako Nabasu for his own remarks.
Your Excellency, President Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ably represented by my boss, the Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Chief Dr. N.I.P.S. Silva, the President of the Senate, Dr. Ahmad Lawal, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Femi Wajamiala, members of the National Assembly here present, honorable ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria here present, visiting ministers of hydrocarbon, permanent secretaries of the Federal Republic of Nigeria here present, heads of agencies under the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, Secretary Generals of international organizations, captains of industries, heads of security agencies, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to welcome you all to the 4th Nigeria International Petroleum Summit, an African petroleum technology and business conference with the theme From Crisis to Opportunities, New Approaches to the Future of Hydrocarbons. Indeed, the coronavirus pandemic has dealt a harsh blow on global economies. The oil and gas sector, which is a major stay of many economies, Nigeria's inclusive, is the worst hit. However, What has been known of humanity is the ability to evolve through the hard and harsh conditions and possibly invent something new. As it is said, tough times don't last, but tough people do. And I count Nigeria as a country that is consisting of tough people. The global pandemic has pushed us in the oil and gas sector to persevere, and through innovative thinking and actions, created new mechanisms towards sustaining the global oil and gas sector amidst a very trying time. This for us in Nigeria birthed the Decade of Gas initiative of the federal government as a means of diverting from premium motor spirit, PMS, with its resultant environmental concerns, to the use of a cleaner energy. Even though this is not a dream that can be achieved in a day, the commitment of Mr. President, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, and our amiable Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. N.I.P.S. has given us the confidence that this can, however, be achieved as the signs have started to show. The Decade of Gas was the central theme of the Nigeria International Petroleum Summit pre-conference that took place on 29th March 2021 here in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. It is on such premise of the need for cooperation and collaboration among African countries and the developed world, especially in trying times such as these, that such event as the Nigeria International Petroleum Summit holds. It is therefore my hope that as the deliberations commences with exhibitions of new technologies, post-pandemic session will be a season of abundance and bliss and for our countries and our people. I therefore call on all participants, speakers and discussants at this important program to ensure that the presentations and discussions that will ensue ultimately galvanize the oil and gas sector and create a better world post-COVID-19. I want to use this opportunity to thank Mr. President for his approval and support toward the hosting of this event. Your presence here today shows the importance you place on this program and your commitment to the mandate you set out for the Ministry of Petroleum Resources and indeed the entire oil and gas sector, which is to ensure steady and sufficient energy supply, as well as take millions of Nigerians out of poverty within the shortest possible time. The Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, my boss, has been on the driver's seat piloting the affairs of this sector. I thank you for providing exemplary leadership. To all the heads of agencies and sister ministries, your collaboration has been immeasurable and worth appreciating. I want to thank you all. On this note, I welcome everyone to the 4th Nigeria International Petroleum Summit, the African Petroleum Technology and Business Conference, and wish you a happy celebration. Thank you for coming. Stay safe by observing the COVID-19 protocol as the virus is still out there. Thank you and God bless us.
Thank you very much, the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources, Mr. Bitrus Bako Nabasu. Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we're moving on swiftly to our next segment of the opening ceremony, which is the Goodwill messages. And first off, in our Goodwill messages, we're going over to Congo, but this time it's an expert in Congo, one of our own who is sitting in Congo as the Secretary General of African Petroleum Producers Organization. Please let's welcome Dr. Umar Farouk Ibrahim for his own Goodwill message. Sound.
Your Excellency, Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, President and Commander-in-Chief, Minister of Petroleum Resources of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and special guest of honor at the 4th Nigeria International Petroleum Summit, N.I.P.S, represented by His Excellency Chief Timipre Silva, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources and Chief Host of the 4th Nigeria International Petroleum Summit, Your Excellency Ahmed Lawal, President of the Senate of the Federal Republic, Right Honorable Femi Gbadamiala, Speaker, House of Representatives, Ministers of the Federal Republic, Ministers of APO, Your Excellency Vincent Paul Masasa, my immediate past boss, geologist Mele Kolokiari, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I've been requested to give a good message from the African Petroleum Producers Organization, APO, to the 4th edition of the Nigeria International Petroleum Summit taking place this week in Abuja. And I should like to begin with a personal confession. I get excited extremely excited and happy each year during N.I.P.S since it was first inaugurated. I get excited because from the maiden edition in 2018, N.I.P.S has continued to record successes in 2018, 2019, 2020, and hopefully, we are sure, this year. Why the excitement? Am I a stakeholder in N.I.P.S? Do I have a share in Brevity Anderson? Or do I still work in the office of the Minister of Petroleum Resources? No. I'm excited because I see in the success of N.I.P.S the reward for confidence, for commitment, and for trust. I see in the success of N.I.P.S the gradual realization of Nigeria's and indeed Africa's dream for the oil and gas industry. And what do I mean? Before 2016, Nigerians and indeed many APO countries, oil and gas operators and policymakers trooped in their hundreds every year to the Offshore Technology Conference in Houston, Texas. Tens of millions of US dollars are spent each year on travels, on Estacode, and exhibitions by Nigerian and other African countries' oil industry players. The then Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Emmanuel Ibekachuku, was one of the hundreds of Nigerians that attended the 2016 OTC. On his return, he called a meeting of his immediate aides and told us, I was then working as advisor to the minister, that that was the last OTC that Nigerian government and its agencies would sponsor. He wanted an OTC, and he wanted an African OTC, and that potential investors in the African oil and gas industry should come to Africa to discuss deals, not in Houston. He said that he wanted a firm that could organize a truly international event that could attract other African countries and discourage them from going to Houston. It was agreed that even though there were lots of oil and gas conferences being organized in Nigeria at that time, it would not send a powerful signal if any of the existing firms was drafted to produce the event. At the same time, government was not prepared to put money into the project. When Brevity Anderson, among others, bid for the rights to produce the events, not many in the ministry nor its parastatals were confident that without government's financial support, they could organize a successful event. But the very first N.I.P.S was a resounding success. That success was followed by the second, the third, and now the fourth. You can therefore see why I'm always happy with the success of N.I.P.S, as it is a manifestation of the trust that President Anderson reposed in Nigeria and indeed in Africa and our dreams from the very beginning. I cannot but also commend His Excellency Timi Silva, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, and Kachuku's successor, for taking the bold decision from the very beginning of his term in office to evaluate all projects he met on the ground and resolved to continue with those he was convinced needed to be continued. N.I.P.S was one of the many projects he resolved to continue. Thank you, Minister Silva, and thank you, Messias Anderson. Now, speaking for Apple, I would like to commend member country Nigeria for the leadership role it has played in the continent's oil and gas industry. Only last week, Nigeria hosted the first Africa Local Content Roundtable, where a number of Apple member countries participated, expressing their great concern about the future of the industry in Africa, especially in the light of the global aggressive pursuit of energy transition. It is therefore gratifying to note that most of the concerns expressed by participants at the roundtable are topics of the various sessions at N.I.P.S 21. Given the enormous constraints that COVID-19 has introduced to the global economy, and especially the oil and gas industry, and the determination of the developed world to fast-track the energy transition train, it is important that the organizers of N.I.P.S keep being innovative in order to be able to continue to attract huge patronage from key industry stakeholders. And one way to be innovative is to strive to be more focused by admitting that N.I.P.S cannot cover all there is to cover about the industry globally. Rather, greater focus should be on examining the challenges of the industry on the African continent and proffering solutions to them. That way, it shall succeed in creating a niche for itself as the must-attend summit for the latest pulse of the continent's oil and gas industry key players and policy makers. Apple is most pleased with the support that its member countries have been giving to N.I.P.S, evidenced in the physical and virtual attendance of its ministers and senior representatives at all N.I.P.S from inception. Thank you for your support, Excellencies. I should also like to thank the organizers of N.I.P.S for the opportunity to deliver this goodwill message. I wish participants very fruitful deliberations, and to His Excellency, Mr. President, Apple thanks you for your continuous support and that of your government. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, the Secretary General of the African Petroleum Producers Organization. Moving on from him, we go over now to our next goodwill message. This time we are taking it virtually. But before I bring up that virtual speaker, I want to appreciate the virtual presence of the governors of OPEC and some other Apple minister members who are joining us online. We thank all of you for finding time excuse me, to join us virtually. So we're continuing now to our goodwill message as I welcome the Secretary General of Gas Exporting Countries Forum, His Excellency Dr. Yuri Centurion, joining us virtually. Can we take Dr. Centurion? Go ahead, please. I can't hear him. technical hitches. Can I move on? Out?
Invited to the 4th Nigerian International Petroleum Summit, a well-established platform of the GCF esteemed member country Nigeria to engage with local, regional, and global communities and promote domestic and gas potentials. My particular appreciation goes to His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, as well as His Excellency N.I.P.S, Minister of State for Energy Affairs. They have been our long-standing partners, and having worked closely with them, I can affirm that the energy sector in Nigeria is currently witnessing a golden era of sustainable growth under their wise and prudent leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, the year 2020 is a great example of a corner case which refers to unusual behaviors that occur in complex systems when faced with a sudden change. By stress testing governments, people, media, manufacturing, COVID-19 exposed the fragility of the global systems. As the world remains besieged by doubts, there are few examples that shine positively. Nigeria is one of such cases. While the world was grappling with challenges on a number of fronts, the Nigerian government announced the go-ahead for the LNG Train 7. This $10 billion project will add to the strength of Africa's largest LNG exporter. It will, of course, create thousands of new jobs for the world's 7th and Africa's most populous nation. The energy policymakers of Nigeria have also unveiled the 614 kilometers long Ajaokuta-Kaduna-Kana pipeline at a cost of $2.8 billion to connect the eastern, western, and northern regions of this vast country. In March 2021, I had the chance to join the official launch of the Nigerian Decade of Gas initiative. I echo His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari's vision to transform Nigeria into a gas-based economy by 2030. As part of this vision, the government aims to fully utilize the enormous gas resources in the country to drive industrialization and uplift the economy. The GCF Gas Exporting Countries Forum is proud that one of its founding members has placed natural gas at the center of its economic revitalization. We hope that others will emulate Nigeria's example, especially in the context of economic recovery. The voices in support of natural gas's role in global economic stimulation are rising. Last month, the European Union's landmark rules to classify green investments began the consideration of natural gas. This is no surprise. Natural gas can help reduce emissions. The move away from investment in upstream gas resources can substantially affect the security of supply and prevent countries from accessing competitive and clean energy sources, such as natural gas, which is compatible with sustainable development. According to the latest available figures from the flagship GCF Gas Outlook 2050, which is driven by our in-house developed global gas model and its powerful digitalized toolkit, among other, natural gas will become the leading source in the global energy mix by mid-century, increasing its share from 23% today to 28% by 2050. The GCF is convinced that natural gas, as an abundant, affordable, and clean hydrocarbon source, has a vital role in the energy transition, while simultaneously supporting progress on several sustainable development dimensions, including the guardianship of ecosystems, human health, and economy. I am sure that the energy world will look keenly towards Nigeria as it develops its gas industry for the future. I believe the Nigerian success will inspire development of the industry elsewhere in Africa, which enjoys a particular focus at the GCF. The 2019 Malabo Declaration, at the outcome of the 5th GCF Summit of Heads of State and Government held in Equatorial Guinea, crystallizes this ambition of our member countries very clearly by stating that promote the GCF cooperation with African countries to use gas as the core source of energy in their development programs and climate change policies, with the aim to overcome energy poverty, enhance development, and to mitigate carbon dioxide emissions. Thank you ever so much for your attention, and God bless you.
Thank you. And God bless you too, Dr. Yuri Centurion. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next Goodwill, and this time from the International Energy Forum, we welcome its Secretary General, His Excellency Joseph McMonigal. Can we take Mr. McMonigal? Okay, so we're moving on swiftly now to a physical presentation. I'm told we had technical issues with that one. We're moving on now to a physical presentation as I welcome the Chairman of Oil Producers Trade Section and the Managing Director of Total Energies Nigeria for his goodwill. Welcome, Mr. Mike Sangster.
His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, our host for this event, the Honourable Minister of State for Petroleum, the Senate President, Speaker of the House, all ministers present here today, all champions of industry, all distinguished guests, please allow me to stand on the established protocol. So on behalf of the oil producers section of the Labour Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I would like to thank the Honourable Minister, for the opportunity to be part of the 4th Nigerian International Petroleum Summit. I would also like to use this opportunity to congratulate the Minister for the past successful summits, which I think have been a platform for highlighting the strong capabilities of the industry here in Nigeria and the investment opportunities which are available. Now, the theme of this year's summit, as we have already heard, is from crisis to opportunities, new approaches to the future of hydrocarbons. And I'm sure we can all agree this really resonates, I think, with everyone in the room today after a year full of all sorts of turmoil, both professional and personal. Now, some of these crises that we have experienced, I think, really based on short-term issues. Obviously, the oil price war at the beginning of last year, then, of course, the pandemic had some issues on oil demand and the disruption of the sector as a whole and the whole value chain. But I think as the world progressively starts to mitigate the impact of the pandemic, and I think today is a really good example of what can be done. We are starting to see signs, of a resurgence of global economic growth. And I think this will present Nigeria, with new opportunities, to develop what we all know is very, very large or abundant natural resources. Now, 2020 also saw momentum towards the energy transition. And we saw some global reduction in demand for fossil fuels. And I think one thing I think is clear to me is that this trend will continue. So I think this summit really is a perfect opportunity for all the key actors, government, regulators, national companies, private companies, and all the suppliers to the industry to work together to ensure that Nigeria is competitive and in the international landscape and as an attractive destination for investment. It's our hope, and indeed it's our expectation, that this summit will help to identify and proffer solutions towards ensuring the sustained development of Nigeria's resources, particularly gas. And this is the decade of gas, after all. And I think this would consequently boost investor confidence and attract investment to grow the industry for the benefit of all stakeholders and all Nigerians. So in all this, OPEC remains committed as a trusted partner of the government and all stakeholders in the industry to move the industry forwards. So I'd like to wish you all very fruitful discussions over the next few days, and I look forward to engaging with you all personally, constructively, to find solutions to all these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mike Sangster, Chairman, Oil Producers Trade Section. Continuing, we will take another live Goodwill message. At this time, And moving on to the towers, as I welcome the Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Mr. Mele Kyari. Let's welcome him, please.
Mr. President, ably represented, distinguished Senate President, distinguished Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Ministers present, very many other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, too many for me to mention, so I'll save your time, and to express my profound gratitude to be allowed to say a few words in this occasion and to welcome all of us. NNPC being one of the major contributors to hosting this event. We're happy to see this event happen today for two reasons. One is that physical meetings of this nature have become very rare, and I know that the industry is looking forward to gathering of this nature so that we can interact, we can move the industry forward, and also deliver value to our shareholders. Honorable Minister of State of Petroleum Resources, I'd like to congratulate you for making this work. We know that this is very, very expedient at this time, and also the very fact that this engagement in the past has produced enormous resources. Two reminders for me to mention. My colleague Mike and the Permanent Secretary have said a few words around this. We know that there are crises in the industry today. Definitely, the theme of this conference cannot be better than anyone else can imagine to say that from crisis to opportunity, new approach to the future of oil. We are aware of all of the energy transition issues that are going on across the globe. We also know the challenges that the COVID-19 has thrown at the industry and on the entire globe. And the end result is that there is depression in demand. People's choices have changed. Many things will never come back to the normal that we know. And ultimately, it will affect our business. For us locally here, we know we have challenges around fiscal stability. So much is going on today. Distinguished Senate President, the Right Honorable Speaker here, and the Honorable Minister, there's effort going on to make sure that the petroleum industry bill comes into play. At the back of this, there are concerted engagements in the industry with our partners, leading to even the closure of some of very difficult engagements that has become a matter of litigation between us and our partners. And we're very proud that one of such has been concluded, and it has opened a road to many, many other understanding and agreement that we can meet with our partners. Of course, we also are aware that cost is everything in the future. The crisis has thrown up the fact that only the best of producers will survive, and therefore cost control becomes a major issue for the industry. Everybody is aware of this, and the industry and we and our partners are working together to make sure that this works for all of us. And of course, I know this conference will bring out the very fact that funding is a major issue in the industry today for two reasons. One, there are paucity of resources across the globe, and secondly, there's overall reluctance by investing companies or banking authorities to even put money into fossil fuel-related businesses. This is what we have to live with, what we have to contend. But obviously, the best of the businesses that will survive are the ones that try to transit into much more climate-friendly businesses. And lastly, of course, security is a major issue for us in our business today. There are concerted efforts across the industry in the Niger Delta area and all other locations to make sure that we contend the issues of security around our assets. We are aware that the significant work has been done. The level of security issues has clearly diminished, but there's still work to be done. And of course, that means much more needs to be done by all of us. And we are very proud that the work that the federal government is doing today is yielding results. And every reaction that is necessary to make sure that this works for our country is very, very welcome by the industry. And we are completely aligned with this, with the help and support of the Honorable Minister. Lastly, to combat this crisis to advantage, this industry must work together to look at advantages that are inherent in the transition that we're going through. Every company must try to be an energy company and not necessarily an oil and gas company. That's what everybody is doing, and this is what we're also doing in the NNPC to make sure that we transform from what we are today to an energy company. And to do this, you must automate, you must reduce your costs, you must be more efficient, and also you must be more collaborative in our approaches, and this is paying off for us. And of course, ultimately, this crisis, as it is today, as we face in the industry, is surely an opportunity for us to do many things differently, and particularly more so in our country today, where the enormous gas resources can be converted to value, and we can join the journey for blue and green hydrogen. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure that as we go ahead, this conference will add more value to this conversation, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Group Managing Director of the NNPC. Moving on to the opening keynote, we move over now to OPEC's headquarters in Austria, as I welcome His Excellency Mohammad Sanusi Bakindo, Secretary General of OPEC, for N.I.P.S 2021 opening keynote.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute privilege for me to address the Nigerian International Petroleum Summit. OPEC has been extremely proud to support this summit since its first iteration in 2018. Unfortunately, the OPEC Secretariat team cannot attend in person due to the current travel restrictions, but we are in Abuja in heart and in spirit. Mr. President, in just over a month's time, we will commemorate a transformative date for OPEC and Nigeria, the 50th anniversary of Nigeria's membership of our organization. Over the last 5 decades, the unique relationship between OPEC and Nigeria has had a multitude of positive consequences for both parties. The intertwining destinies of OPEC and Nigeria predates membership. On 14 September 1960, OPEC was founded on the shores of the River Tigris in Baghdad, Iraq. 2 weeks later, on 1st October 1960, Nigeria joined the Fraternity of Independent Nations. Many giants of Nigerian public service have been responsible for the successful membership and are addressing this summit today. It is an honor to share this platform with His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari. Mr. President, the OPEC family knows the depth of gratitude we owe you for the pivotal role you played in the Declaration of Cooperation process. The Declaration of Cooperation constitutes an unprecedented milestone in the history of OPEC. For this first time ever, OPEC coordinated with 10 non-OPEC oil-producing countries, led by the Russian Federation, in a concerted effort to accelerate the stabilization of the global oil market. Mr. President, you have consistently shown your impeccable credentials as a bastion of the principles underpinning international relations: respect for all nations, fulfilling responsibilities, transparency, and fairness. Your tenure as president has coincided with 2 externally caused recessions. When you were first elected in 2015, Nigeria was in the midst of a recession caused by the plummeting oil prices. All energy-dependent developing economies like ours were affected by this oil cycle downturn. From 2014 to 2016, world oil supply growth outpaced that of demand, with world oil supply growing by 5.8 million barrels a day, while world oil demand increased by 4.3 million barrels a day. By July 2016, OECD commercial stock overhang reached a record high of about 403 million barrels over the 5-year average. The OPEC reference basket price fell by an extraordinary 80% between June 2014 and January 2016. Some crude oil benchmarks fell below $10 a barrel. Mr. President, investments were also chalked off, with exploration and production spending falling by an enormous 25% in both 2015 and 2016. a fall amounting to above 300 billion US dollars. There was significant job losses across the industry, as well as increasing financial and operational stresses for many companies. In fact, a record number of companies in our industry filed for bankruptcy. In terms of foregone revenues to OPEC member countries, during this oil cycle, collectively, about $1 trillion US dollars was lost as a consequence of the plunge in prices in 2015 and 2016. No member country of OPEC was insulated from such a contraction in oil revenues during this market cycle. This had a severe impact on the resources available to the government to pursue its laudable development programs. Similarly, Mr. President, the 2021 recession was also caused by extraneous factors far beyond Nigeria's borders. The devastating spread of COVID-19 severely impacted global oil demand, and again, developing economies were exposed. As the world economy contracted by 3.5% year-on-year in 2020, global oil demand declined by 9.5 million barrels a day. During the month of April 2020, oil demand dropped by a staggering 22 million barrels a day. And yet, Mr. President, and your government bravely rose to both of these great challenges, deploying exemplary managerial skills, acumen, and extraordinary prudence by diverting resources to the most productive sectors of the economy. The government was able to revive growth. Nigeria speedily exited recession and returned to the path of growth. The government organized virus containment measures, campaigns to sensitize the population to the devastating impacts of the pandemic, and promptly provided much-needed economic stimulus. This proactive response protected the economy from a more severe contraction. The government should be applauded for its quick and robust actions. When President Muhammadu Buhari assumed office, he swore an oath to discharge his duties in the interest of Nigeria's sovereignty, integrity, and solidarity. The President has the sacred duty and responsibility to act in the interest of the unity and security of our nation and peoples. I commend the President for being faithful to his oath of office, especially in the face of glaring threats to our security. Violent attacks on our men and women in uniform are reprehensible and should be condemned by all and sundry in the strongest terms possible. I urge all my fellow compatriots to join hands to support all levels of government to promote the cause of unity, peace, and stability of our great country, Nigeria. Mr. President, there simply has never been anything like the COVID-19 pandemic in modern memory. Daily life has been transformed by the necessary lockdowns initiated by governments across the world, as well as the widespread travel restrictions and the business and industry shutdowns. No nation or sector of the global economy has been spared. By the end of March 2020, the world seemed a different planet to what it had been at the beginning of that month. First and foremost, the COVID-19 pandemic is a human tragedy. Almost 180 million people have been sickened by the virus. Over 3.7 million precious lives have perished, and millions of livelihoods have been destroyed. No region or sector has been spared. As the International Labour Organization has shown, labor markets around the world were disrupted in 2020 on a historically unprecedented scale. According to the ILO, estimates 8.8% of global working hours were lost relative to the fourth quarter of 2019, equivalent to a staggering 255 million full-time jobs. Ominously, working hour losses in 2020 were approximately 4 times greater than during the global financial crisis in 2009. The most challenging period in this most challenging of years was April 2020. Mr. President, in OPEC, we were stunned by things happening that we never imagined possible. On 20th of April 2020, the West Texas Intermediate crude went negative for the first time in history, with prices plummeting to minus $37 a barrel. Sellers, Mr. President, were paying buyers to lift their crude on that fateful day. In response to this unprecedented situation, OPEC knew it had to act. Thankfully, we did not need to reinvent the wheel. We turned to the mechanism, the framework that had helped us emerge out of the 2015-2016 oil market downturn, the Declaration of Cooperation between OPEC and non-OPEC producing countries. It was an effort to move from crisis to opportunity. Participating countries have taken proactive and preemptive action to help reduce volatility, stabilize the oil market, and provide a flexible platform for recovery with potentially broader participation in the coming years. This was evidently on display, Mr. President, at the 9th and 10th extraordinary meetings of the OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meetings on the 9th and 12th of April 2020, respectively. At these seminal meetings, it was agreed to adjust downwards overall crude oil production by 9.7 million barrels a day starting in May and June 2020. From 1st of July 2020 to 31st December 2020 by 7.7 million barrels a day, and from 1st of January 2021 to 30th of April 2022 by another 5.8 million barrels a day. This is the largest ever production adjustments by the Declaration of Cooperation participants, the largest in the history of OPEC, and the largest in the history of the oil industry. These industry-saving measures were commended by a broad range of stakeholders, including the G20 under the presidency of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Participating countries have subsequently reviewed these decisions on a monthly basis to proactively anticipate market developments and improve the core principles upon which our enterprise was founded, namely transparency, equity, and fairness. High conformity levels with these production adjustments have been testimony to the depth of our commitment. In total, Mr. President, we held the ministerial meetings 9 times in 2020, and so far 5 times in 2021. After the unprecedented turmoil of last year, in recent months we have seen relative stability in the oil market. The market has continued to react positively to the decisions we took, including the upward adjustments of production levels beginning in May this year. Overall conformity to the production adjustments was 114% in April 2021, reinforcing the trend of high conformity by the participating countries. Mr. President, the global economy, oil market fundamentals, and the oil demand outlook have all been encouraged by positive news of vaccine rollouts and the continuing massive fiscal stimulus that is driving the economic rebound. OPEC has revised its economic global outlook forecast up to 5.5% for 2021, and the oil demand growth forecast remains at 6 million barrels a day. It should be borne in mind that the majority of this demand is backloaded to the second half of 2021. A backwardation structure remains in all major crude oil benchmarks. Additionally, we saw a drawdown of 6.9 million barrels month on month in OECD commercial oil stock inventories in April. This is 160 million barrels lower than the same time 1 year ago, and 34 million barrels above the 2015-2019 average. We expect to see further drawdowns in the months ahead. Despite the positives, Mr. President, it is clear that uncertainties remain, such as the continuing high number of COVID-19 cases in some parts of the world, the uneven vaccine rollout, particularly when looking at the developed versus the developing world, virus mutations, an orderly and transparent return of supplies to the global market, inflationary pressures, and central bank responses. Mr. President, over the last 20 months, OPEC has upgraded its volatility fighting toolkit. Our monthly meetings and partnership with non-OPEC producing countries under the Declaration of Cooperation have enabled us to improve both the nimbleness and comprehensiveness of our responses to oil market stability. Allow me to conclude by assuring Mr. President and all stakeholders in the energy industry that we are determined to build on the progress achieved thus far and do what we can to continue to contribute to stability in the oil market on a sustainable basis in the interest of all producers, all consumers, and the global economy. Mr. President, on behalf of OPEC, we wish you long life, good health, many years of service to our great country, to OPEC and the international community. Thank you for your kind attention, and I wish us all a very successful summit.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Mohammed Sanusi Bakindo, Secretary General of OPEC. There onwards we go now to Ministerial address as I welcome the Honorable Minister of State Petroleum Resources for his own address, His Excellency Chief Temipre Silva.
The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, represented, the Vice President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Senate, the President of the Senate of the Federal Republic, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Minister Masasa of Gabon and other ministers from outside Nigeria that are here, honorable ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, honorable ministers of state, federal permanent secretaries, chief executives of national and foreign oil companies, especially the chairman of the OPEC, delegates, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me just start by saying that, speaking in human terms, N.I.P.S was lucky last year. It was lucky because it was one of the very few events, oil and gas events, that held physically last year before the lockdowns across the world. This year, and from last year, the oil and gas industry, speaking in human terms, has been physically challenged because we couldn't hold any physical event for a long time. But today we are happy that at least some of us are here physically. You are all welcome. On behalf of the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources and its parastatals, I warmly welcome you to the 4th edition of the Nigeria International Petroleum Summit. When this summit was conceived by this administration in 2016, there was no pretense about the objective. It was conceived to be the preeminent oil and gas industry event. 3 editions down the line, and now the 4th one, I can boldly say that Nigeria International Petroleum Summit has truly attained its objective. The credit for this goes to Mr. President, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, for his leadership, steadfastness, and unalloyed support towards ensuring that the country's oil and gas industry, which lays the golden egg, is on sound footing. Thank you, Mr. President. This year's N.I.P.S comes on the eve of the award of new marginal field licenses after several failed attempts over the past 20 years. I am personally delighted. This is because getting this new set of marginal fields off the ground is definitely a stepping stone towards achieving the country's aspiration, meeting the target of 4 million barrels per day crude oil production and 40 billion barrels of proven reserves. I have no doubt that the country is now on the right path to achieve that dream. This year's theme is From Crisis to Opportunities, New Approaches to the Future of Hydrocarbons. It is true that the industry has been overwhelmed by unprecedented crisis as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. It is also true that the crisis heralded volatile challenges, uncertainties, low oil prices, and financial impacts that led to downsizing and bankruptcy in some instances. But I want to focus on the brighter side. That is why, for me, the meat of this year's theme is the new approaches to the future of hydrocarbons. The scenarios being projected by some experts is that energy transition and winning the world of fossil fuel will make the world a better place. I believe so too, but I do not see that happening overnight. Hydrocarbons have provided the majority of the world's energy for centuries, and that fact is not going to change all of a sudden. I am yet to see that disruptive technology that has great flexibility, affordability, and applicability to replace oil and gas immediately. However, Nigeria is on track in moving its economy to cleaner energy sources in the area of renewables. Gas currently serving as the bridge to achieving that. Ladies and gentlemen, with increasing oil price volatility and increased pressure for cost reduction, our industry needs to reinvent itself so that we can fully utilize the dividends to set the country on the path to industrialization and prosperity. That is why this summit is focusing on new approaches. For me, the new approach is collaboration. That is the paradigm shift I want to focus on at this summit. I know that collaboration has been a buzzword in the oil and gas industry for years, but the industry has equally paid lip service to it. With the new set of marginal field licenses on the scene, there is no better time to shift the mindset but now. I say this because at this time of unprecedented crisis occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic, there is no better strategy to achieve success for these new marginal fields, especially for the cluster of contiguous fields. I understand the increased competition, low levels of trust are all barriers to collaboration, but at the same time, there is no better way to deal with the increased risk and global market instability we face at this time than joint efforts to achieve our set goals. The industry needs to overcome the strategy of working in silos and embrace collaboration and knowledge sharing. We need to fully entrench that culture of collaboration by working together, sharing knowledge and expertise, pooling talent and resources among teams, industry peers, and MDAs at all levels. That is a sure way the industry can decrease waste, improve efficiency, and lower its break-even costs for the industry's survival and chart its eventual return to sustainable profitability. Therefore, as industry leaders, the time to embrace the culture of collaboration is now. At the global level, Nigeria has been playing prominent roles to ensure the stability of oil market. In this regard, it is worth noting that Nigeria will be celebrating, just like the Secretary General of OPEC just told us, will be celebrating 50 years of membership of OPEC in July this year, having joined the organization in 1971. These 5 decades of relationship with the OPEC has been beneficial to the country, as well as to all stakeholders in the oil industry. And it is a thing of pride that Nigeria has been able to contribute its quota to the sustenance and survival of the oil industry. I cannot end this short speech without thanking my team from the Ministry of Petroleum Resources and the departments and agencies within the ministry who are joint hosts of this summit. A special mention goes to the Brevity Anderson Consortium for their professionalism, diligence, and marked excellence in putting together this world-class industry event again. To all the delegates and exhibitors, I expect a free flow of information and frank exchanges of ideas which will be truly effective in enabling us to improve our knowledge and the state of our industry. Once again, I welcome you all to N.I.P.S 2021 and wish all of us fruitful deliberations and exhibitions. Thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Chief N.I.P.S Silva, Honorable Minister of State Petroleum Resources. From that, his ministerial address will move on now to the first of 2 what I would call oversight addresses at this event. One from our guest of honor and the other one from his colleague. I'd like to now welcome the Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, Speaker, House of Representatives, for his address at this opening ceremony. Let's please welcome the Right Honorable Gbajabiamila.
Thank you very much. This is going to be very quick and short so that we can get to the meat of what this conference is about. His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic, the Senate President, honorable ministers, honorable guests, let me crave your indulgence as I stand on the already established protocol. I'm glad to be here today to say a word or two on the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. The array of guests here today speaks volumes to the importance of why we're here today. The Honorable Minister of State just alluded to the fact that, and I must agree with him to an extent, he looked at it from the long-term perspective that we're here, the oil is here with us to stay for some time to come. However, I have a slight departure. I think we must first agree on the nature of oil itself, that it is finite. It's not infinite. It is finite. And the earlier we begin to plan and understand the fact that it is finite, and the earlier we begin to plan, the better for us as a country. There is need at this time to maximize the output and to make hay while the sun shines. Otherwise, that time, which we see as being far away, will come upon us before we know it, and we'll be caught pants down. It is the finite nature of oil. That is why today, perhaps the most fashionable two words in that industry is renewable energy, because that is infinite. And that brings me to the role of the legislature. I'm not an expert in the industry. I know very little compared to most of you that are seated here today. However, what I do know is that for you to succeed, for that industry to grow, the legislature plays a very important role in providing the framework for its growth. And what is that framework? As of today, the framework that we know, and that is a bill that is at the tongue of everybody in Nigeria today, that is the PIB, Petroleum Industry Bill. The Petroleum Industry Bill has been long coming, and it's been almost 20 years now. We never got it right. And we are determined in the National Assembly to get it right this time around. We have imposed a self-imposed date. I remember clearly saying some time ago that we should have it out of the House by the end of April. Now, we have gone beyond that. But I believe, and we believe in the National Assembly, that no matter the pressure, anything worth doing is worth doing well. It is better to tarry on the side of caution and get it right. Something that has been long coming that we haven't been able to get right for 20 years. If we want to get it right, we must not sacrifice the experience of time on the altar of time. I believe that there are diverse and competing interests. Many have approached me as a speaker, various interests. And I believe those interests must be put together, side by side. Nobody's trying to drive anybody out of business. That is not our job. We're expected to encourage business, whether foreign, whether local, or community-based. But we juggle as these competing interests juggle and try to elbow each other out. It is the role of the National Assembly to look for a balancing act, bearing in mind that the most important interest for us is the national interest. And it is that a national interest that we have that we will look at while considering other interests, competing interests, to strike what I think is a very delicate balance in this industry. I want to thank the organizers of this very ethical event, the fourth one, I believe, for having the thoughtfulness, understanding the importance of the industry to our economy. I heard the anecdote by the first speaker about how this started and how our last, I believe it was the minister or the group managing director, I can't remember, did say that no more OTC. He wanted the African OTC. Well, here we are, the African OTC, and I wish you well. I wish all our participants well. I wish us fruitful deliberations, and I believe that the outcome, hopefully the outcome of this 2 or 3 day event will be to the benefit of the industry and to the benefit of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, Speaker, Federal House of Representatives. Moving onwards from him, we go over now to the Chairman of the National Assembly and President of the Nigerian Senate. Welcome, distinguished Senator Ahmed Lawan, for his own remarks.
His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, represented by the Minister of State, Federal Minister of Petroleum Resources, Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, very distinguished and honored members of the National Assembly present, honored ministers, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Well, let me thank the organizers of N.I.P.S 2021 for inviting me to be part of this very important event. I believe that this is one additional achievement by the oil industry and organizers, being the fourth of N.I.P.S since it started. I congratulate you for that. Let me also say from the onset that the National Assembly is and remains very committed to ensuring that Mr. President and the administration continues to enjoy the support of the National Assembly, the legislature, in revitalizing the country's hydrocarbon sector. In 2020, the National Assembly passed the Deep Offshore and Inland Basin Production Sharing Contract Act 2004. That was one effort between the legislature and the executive arms of government. We believe that the National Assembly has every reason to work with the executive arm of government to ensure that the oil industry in Nigeria is competitive and provides the optimum revenues to our country for the development of our nation. Today, the National Assembly and the executive arm of government are working together to ensure the passage of the Petroleum Industry Bill. Like the Honorable Speaker said, we had thought that the PIB would have been passed by May, really. But there again, you have to have a balancing act between speed and, of course, accuracy. We want to be very fair in listening to everyone, but one different approach that has been able to bring us where we are today in the Petroleum Industry Bill processing is that we have decided right from the beginning that the solo effort in 2007, 2008, by the then executive arm of government, by bringing to the National Assembly the PIB. And of course, at the end of the day, we know what happened. The National Assembly could not pass the PIB. In 2011, it was the same thing. It was a solo effort by the executive arm of government, and the National Assembly could not pass the PIB. In 2015, there was a reversal of role. The National Assembly conceived the bills. And of course, the PIB could not materialize. So in our legislative agenda for 2019 to 2023, in the 9th Senate and indeed the National Assembly, we decided that we must have a better way. Neither the solo effort of the executive nor the solo effort of the legislature could deliver the PIB. We better have a cooperative approach where the National Assembly will work with the administration to conceive the bill through very rigorous consultation, and at the end of the day, we narrow down our differences and areas of potential conflicts. And I think we have been able to achieve that significantly. The speed and the commitment the National Assembly has shown in working on the PIB and reaching where we are today shows that we have chosen the right path. As I speak, our joint committees of both the Senate and the House on the PIB are about to conclude writing the report, which will be submitted to both chambers of the National Assembly. Our expectation is that we will pass the PIB within this month of June, by the grace of God. We are guided by one principle, that the hydrocarbons endowment we have in Nigeria must give Nigerians the benefit of being in Nigeria. But we are also very conscious of the fact that this is a business environment, after all. You need those companies, those businesses that are here to have a very good business environment, And therefore, we need a competitive environment that will not only retain those businesses that we have in Nigeria, but also attract businesses from other climes. And we are not mindful of the fact that many countries have petroleum or oil these days. So we need to ensure that Nigeria's environment is competitive enough. And that is why we have allowed for so much consultation. There have been public hearings, and of course, stakeholders have made their presentations. And I want to assure you all that the final product of the PIB will be a product that will ensure a win-win situation for everyone. We also need to ensure that when you have the legal framework, the PIB in place, it doesn't simply give you what you want. We must, as an administration, continue to ensure that there is calm, that there is security, that there is stability in the Niger Delta area where the oil is produced. So far, so good. But we shouldn't take anything for granted. We have to do everything that is necessary to continue to enjoy that security and stability. The host communities need to be carried along, and we have done that during the public hearing. We have given opportunities for host communities to participate in the public hearing for the PIB, and we have taken note of what they have submitted in the public hearing. I'm sure that at the end of the day, the National Assembly will give this country the kind of a legal framework to regulate the oil industry in Nigeria in such a manner that everybody would like to come in here, put in more resources, that our companies, especially the IOCs, will be able to attract more funds to our country, to this sector, because it's going to be very, very profitable. Finally, I want to once again thank the organizers, and I wish this very important gathering a very fruitful deliberation and final decent outcome that will guide the oil industry in our continent. Thank you very much, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the President of the Senate of Nigeria, distinguished Senator Ahmed Lawan. Onwards now, but before I bring up our final speech for this opening ceremony, I would quickly want to just make a short announcement that following this concluding speech for the opening ceremony, I would call for a particular photo ops. After that photo ops, we would go into the ministerial panel session. Preceding that will be the keynote from the GMD for that particular session. We're going to have it in the room here. So I would ask us to please, when I call for the photo ops, keep it to those whom I'll be inviting for the photo ops, so that we'll still keep the hall in order before we proceed to the session after the photo ops. But for now, it's time to listen to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, as represented by the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources. Let's welcome, this time as President's representative, His Excellency Chief Timipre Silva. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. This time I'm dressed in borrowed robes. Mr. President of the Senate of the Federal Republic, please excuse me for speaking after you. I'm not the one speaking, really. The Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the President of the Senate of the Federal Republic, distinguished Senator Lawan, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Right Honorable Gbajabiamila. Let me, at this point, stand on the protocols already established. It is with great delight that I welcome you all to the 4th edition of the Nigeria International Petroleum Summit. About 3 months ago, some of us in this gathering came together for the Decade of Gas Conference, which served as a prelude to the present event. The highly successful pre-summit event created the momentum for what we are going to experience, to witness over the next 4 days. It is therefore with great pleasure and honor that I welcome you all to the main summit, the 4th edition of the Nigeria International Petroleum Summit. Over the past 3 editions, the summit has grown both in stature and relevance, that it has become a veritable platform for Nigeria and Africa to engage the local investment communities as well as directly market our oil and gas sector as credible business investment destination to a global audience. This administration has demonstrated an unparalleled commitment to the overhauling of the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. The ambitious goal of ramping up crude oil production to at least 4 million barrels per day and building a reserve of 40 billion barrels remains sacrosanct and guiding principle to our overall outlook for the industry. Creating the conducive business environment for our hydrocarbon industry to thrive is no longer a choice. It is a necessity. The Senate President and the Right Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives are participating in this summit, and they have given us updates on the Petroleum Industry Bill and when the National Assembly will pass this all-important industry bill. I want to briefly give my own perspective on the theme for this year's summit, from crisis to opportunities, new approaches to the future of hydrocarbons. Crisis is often an opportunity to redefine objectives and provide the pathway for rediscovery. The crisis the oil and gas industry is facing today was necessitated by COVID-19. It accelerated an unprecedented demand for disruption and a supply glut. It accelerated an unprecedented demand disruption and a supply glut that generated the crisis for the global economy in general and the oil industry in particular. Addressing this crisis has presented both challenges and opportunities. The immediate challenge is that the global agenda for energy transition has slightly taken the backseat. Governments across the world are now more focused on managing the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on economies than the quest for energy transition. However, energy transition is real. Renewable technologies are getting cheaper, and investors are increasingly conscious of environmental issues and are beginning to turn their back on hydrocarbon investments. But history has shown that human beings have insatiable appetite for energy, which renewables does not have the capacity to cope with in the foreseeable future. Experts project that about 80% of the world's energy mix in 2040 will still come from hydrocarbons. Fossil fuels will continue to be the source of dozens of petrochemicals feedstock that companies transform into versatile and valued materials for modern life. Thus, hopefully, the hydrocarbon industry will still remain a multi-trillion-dollar industry in the coming decades. For us as a country, with a vast hydrocarbon potential, that is an opportunity. How we exploit that opportunity is a matter of strategy. Developing that strategy is at the heart and the core objective why in 2016, the Federal Executive Council of this administration approved the establishment of the Nigeria International Petroleum Summit. Ladies and gentlemen, the fundamental outcome expected from this summit should therefore be the strategies and new approaches to the future of our hydrocarbon industry and how to return to the attractive industry performance of the pre-pandemic era. In this regard, lower cost is critical. Cost is the energy of the future. The industry needs to drive down its cost per barrel before it is exterminated by prices falling below production costs, a phenomenon we experienced at the outset of the pandemic. Given that about 80% of the global energy mix by 2040 will still be hydrocarbon, we cannot turn our back yet on more exploration. Discovery of new fields is crucial. And we also need to address short-term opportunities using existing technology that can extend the life of mature fields. Nobody should doubt our commitment in this regard, given our bold move to issue new marginal field licenses recently. I wish to commend the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, the N.I.P.S, DPR, and other relevant MDAs for their steadfastness and helping this administration build a robust hydrocarbon industry. I also wish to commend international oil companies, the indigenous oil companies, and financial institutions for their role in keeping the industry alive despite the challenges. It is therefore my privilege and honor to declare this summit open. I wish you fruitful deliberations and enjoyable stay in Abuja. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, represented here now by the Honorable Minister of State Petroleum Resources. Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as I said before his speech, I made an appeal that I'll be calling out certain group of persons for photo ops, and I'm appealing that please we keep it to the number I will be requesting in the next few moments. Kunle, can you please direct the official event photographers to be in front of the hall now? Official event photographers. If you're not official, please remain on the corner side for now. I appreciate you for that. I need all the space I can get to do what I'm about to do. Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we're moving on now. For this is our traditional photo ops with some of the key sponsors at N.I.P.S. Let me first of all very respectfully ask that the President's representative, our own minister, please step forward, sir, for these photo ops. I want you back here. Your Excellency, the Senate President, sir, please, if you can join us for these photo ops here, just the Right Honorable Femi Gbajabemila, sir, please, sir, join us. Can I request the presence of our ministers in the room, our Minister of Science and Tech, our Minister of Environment, our Minister of Mines and Steel, our Minister of State Industry, Trade, Industry and Investment. The ministers who are in the room, can you step forward? I'm coming, sir. Oh, okay. Please, sir. Our foreign ministers as well. Our foreign ministers is our traditional photo ops for N.I.P.S. I'm taking it in this slow. Please, sir. Please come on, sir. Please. The representative of the Ghana minister, please, if you can step forward. The minister from Gabon. Gabon, yes, he's up, yes. I was coming to him. Minister. The representative of the minister from Mali. Okay, so now that I have them here, my next is an appeal that the next group I'm going to call, I need one representative from each of these companies. One representative, I beg us, please, because of space, as you can all see. Let me begin with our national host, the N.N.P.C. Please step forward, GMD, sir. Thank you very much. GMD, thank you very much. Yes, I need you here. Now, there's a group of women who are doing big things for businesswomen all around the Commonwealth region. I would also want them here at this time, and that is the Commonwealth Businesswomen Network. I want their vice chairman, I think she's the person here, Ngozi Oyewole. Just her, I want her to step forward, just her. Can I get the director of the DPR, the director and chief executive officer, sir, please join us. The MD of Nigeria LNG, sir, Mr. Atta, please join us. Do you know his name? The MD of Huawei, please, sir, please join us. Please join us. Of course, the chairman of OPEC and MD of Total Energy, sir, please join us. The MD of ExxonMobil, or his representative if he's here. Mr. Monday of Wede, sir, I know you're in the room. The MD of OVH Energy, if you can please step forward. The chairman of Walter Smith, I know you're here in the room, sir. Mr. Sagio Kubo, sir, I know you're in the room, if you can step forward, sir. ES, NCDMB, please step forward. James Shindi. James? PS. Yes, please. PS. Please join us, PS. Mr. Nabasu, please, sir. We're good. Okay, this is one of our appreciation. So you're going to take one picture. Okay, now you can take out the marks. Okay, so please, can some of the distinguished dignitaries can some stand on the stairs so that for the photographer, you go ahead. You go ahead, please go ahead. Can some please stand on so that it's not too wide? Can some stay on the stairs? Let the tall dignitaries stay in front. The taller ones behind. Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, after this, we will yes, that's what exactly. Thank you. I'm going. That's what Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so please, we're going to do something now. We're going to do something now. We're going to break these pictures. Still remain where you are, please. For social distancing, let's just break the picture now. Let's break it. I want to take in 10s. Photographer, take the first 10. Take let's break the picture. Distinguished Senate Presidents, are we good? Let's just take the picture. Take some more pictures there. Okay, we're good. Okay, that's it. Okay, so thank you all very much. His Excellency, the President of the Senate, will be leaving us now, but please remain seated, ladies and gentlemen, because we are going into this session that I spoke about. It is the next thing that we're doing. I got you. Yes. So for the Senate President to, before he leaves, can we rise to take the national anthem to formally? What? Oh God, wait first. His Excellency, the President of the Senate, distinguished Senator Ahmed Lawan, would leave us now. But please remain seated. We are not on a break. We're going over immediately to this session.